Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Dougas, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. Hello and welcome to Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Dougas, and as we do every week, we're joined by a brand new guest talking about their life and their journey throughout the world of martial arts. My guest today is not only a martial artist and author, but a Florida-licensed acupuncture physician, doctor of Oriental Medicine, as well as a fully trained Chinese herbalist. He's also known as a master Dao Brewer, which are transdermal herbal liniments used for pain and recovery. He's the owner of Praying Mantis Acupuncture and Herbal Medicine. Please welcome Dr. Dale Dugas. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. Wonderful to be here.
Hey, I appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to learning more about you.
Well, Brian, let me start by giving a little more introduction about myself. Okay. I'm born and raised in Massachusetts, Hanover, Massachusetts. It's a small little sleepy town. Well, not so much anymore, but when I was born there, it was a small little sleepy town halfway between Boston, Mass, and the Cape Cod. People say, well, you don't sound like you're from, Massachusetts. And yeah, I can park the car and have a gun and all that kind of stuff. And certain words, chowder, not chowder, chowder. Anyway, I have a New England accent for various words and things. But born and raised there, and, went to school in Indiana and then started migrating over to Asia. But I spent a time there, came back. Now I've been in Florida here since 2013, but a wonderful life I think I've led. Okay. And I've done some really interesting things with martial arts, with medicine.
Cool.
And I've met wonderful teachers and, wonderful training brothers and sisters all over the world. I'm blessed. I'm truly blessed. An honor to be here. An honor to always talk with another martial artist, because it's great to, hear other people's stories and to learn about them and how they train and their teachers. Because back in the day, we were told, don't talk to anybody. Don't train with anybody else. If we find out, they're going to blacklist you. It was craziness, And now with the internet and the technology, we can all get on a Zoom call, or we can all do this kind of thing. We can have an audio kind of podcast where you have different people come in and talk about whatever. It's the technology is great, dude. The sharing of information is so much better than when I was a kid.
Yeah. And I'm lucky. I only had one instructor ever who tried to forbid me from studying other martial arts, which was hilarious.
And did you try to figure out why? Because I always would think, of course, hindsight's 20/20. I didn't do it then. I was like, well, you're an ass. And I left thinking, well, that was kind of an ass behavior, because I knew that this person had trained with this teacher. So wait a minute, you're telling me that it's okay for you to train with them, but not me. Yeah. Good for thee, not for me. Hey, wait a minute. I don't like that kind of thing.
Yeah, anyway. I didn't care. I didn't respect him enough to care. I was with him less than 2 years. And I tell everyone that he was my John Kreese. You see, you get it. Most people get that reference. And he legit was my John Kreese. That's really all he cared about was competition, forced me to enter tournament, just didn't care about safety of his students. So yeah, did not last long. Almost drove me to the point where I hated martial arts.
Again, everybody has a crease, right? Sometimes not.
Exactly.
Sometimes not.
Some people get lucky. But so what I want to do with you, though, I want to go back to the very beginning. I want to know where that first interest, that first spark came from.
Oh, dear Lord. So here we are growing up. I'm an idiot kid. I've got two brothers. I'm a middle kid. Okay. My mom and my dad, George and Nancy. Dad works for Boston Gas. He was a jet mechanic in the Marines. Blue collar family. Here I am, this little podunk town, and all of a sudden, one of my friends, a guy named Patrick Thomas, we're still friends. He said, hey, we're going to have the karate school. There's a new karate school in town. We're going to have a demonstration at the mall on Saturday. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? Because, karate schools in my little hometown in the middle of Massachusetts, like, dude, the town's about 10,000 people. It's a little tiny town. I mean, of course, it's bigger now. But it was a tiny little sleepy town. You're like, this wasn't Boston. This wasn't like, a major Quincy. We had bigger cities where that's where the martial arts schools were.
Yeah.
Why would they be in this little sleepy town full of like horse farms and, they had a lot of like, people grew a lot of corn. So horses and corn, there was a lot of farming in my home, town growing up, 4-H, all that kind of stuff, animals. Anyway, so again, went to the demo and I saw all the people wearing the white pajamas, jumping around, getting kicked in the jimmies, getting kicked. Oh my God. It was like a James Bond movie. Like, oh, what? I want to do that. Yeah. What? I want to wear the white pajamas and jump through the air, and I want somebody to kick me in the ding ding. What? Yep. Yep. I was convinced I had to have that. I about 2 years before, parents were kind of strict with the TV. They didn't let us watch a lot of stuff. We get to watch like Jeopardy, PBS. But then on Sundays, they turn on, we watch Lawrence Welk and Disney. Yeah, I swear to God, bro. Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. You can look up these old shows.
I've seen them.
That was like on ABC. Now on CBS, they had Kung Fu with David Carradine, bro. It was when I was a kid growing up.
Nice.
And I had to beg and plead. Oh my God. I had to do all these crazy chores. I was crying. I wanted to watch Kung Fu on TV. And they let me. But my mother was really not into the whole violence thing, dude. She really isn't. Now, of course, she thinks it's funny because, here I am teaching people and where I've gone. But at the time, she was like, why do you want to beat people up? She didn't understand.
Right.
And so I didn't want to beat people up. The cultural thing, dude. I mean, man, you're going to learn this stuff from an ancient monk that practiced this 3,000 years ago in some temple somewhere. And he picked up a burning urn that burned the image of a dragon and a tiger on it. That's cool. So as an 11-year-old kid, you're just fascinated by what is exotic.
Yeah.
So, and it was Uechi-Ryu. It was an Okinawa and Uechi-Ryu school. And so I went, signed up, and they said, well, you got to come back. You got to come back at 7. I'm like, why? And they said, oh, that's for the adults class. And I was like scratching my head because I was 11, but I was 6 foot tall and about 190 pounds. Yeah, dude, I was a horrible asthmatic kid. Like I had horrible asthma, and they didn't have albuterol when I was a kid, dude. They had clenbuterol. That's what albuterol came from. It's a derivative. They removed some of the anabolic steroid actions and make it more of a corticosteroid. But we didn't have that as a kid. So I got clenbuterol, dude, when I had an asthma attack, which was a lot. So yeah, by the time I was 12, I was 6 foot tall and, 200 pounds.
Wow.
I had a beard at 13. I was buying the high school kids and the college kids beer.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, just silly stuff we did back in the day before, it got strict.
Yeah.
The drinking age was 18. It wasn't a big deal. We didn't do the silly stuff that people do now and harm people.
Yeah.
People would go someplace and party. But yeah, anyway. But yeah, dude. So Uechi in a very traditional Okinawan school,
okay.
And a lot of conditioning and a lot of, very few forms, lots of drills. And my first teacher was a guy named Gary Young, Sensei Gary Young. He was an ex-cop. He got hurt on the job. He became a plumber, and he taught us until one of his training partners was a man named John Sullivan. And John, so we call him Sully, he passed away a few years ago. I think he was an 8th or a 9th round. I'm not sure.
Wow.
But he was ex-military, ex-police. So all my teachers were like ex-police, ex-military. A lot of these guys were Vietnam vets. It was just the timing, bro. I'm born in '67. So when I'm a teenager, these guys are, they've been back from Vietnam for a few years. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them have been training. A lot of them train Uechi because Uechi is really practical, dude. Uechi in Okinawa, Uechi, they call it the crazy karate, the Kichigai karate in Japanese,
nice.
Because of the training. We take a lot of abuse compared to other systems.
Wow.
People go, what do you mean? And I go, well, we kick each other a lot, punch each other a lot on the outside, the inside of our legs and arms. And we do a lot of what we call pai da gong in the kung fu arts, where you're taking your body or you're taking tools. So my first day, they said, okay, hold your hand out. You hold your arms out, and they started slapping on top and on the bottom of my arms. And so the students would do this flapping motion like a crane, like whap, whap. So they'd hit you with the top part of their hand, whap, as they come up, and then they'd hit you with their palm, boom, on the way down, and they go whap, 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 whap. So they're flapping. And they're whacking and slapping. And so it's not that bad. But then since they'd go speed it up, and they'd speed it up, and you get slapped really fast. You're like, ooh, ooh. It's a little tingly, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I started my body conditioning, was as a 11-year-old kid in a Uechi school, and so progressive training. Mm-hmm. You start one place and okay, you add a little bit more. So by the time I'm a green or brown belt, you whack me or slap me, I don't give two craps.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to blink. But I hit you, you're going to fall down and cry for your mom, right? Oh, yeah, dude. We used to get thrown out of tournaments because we'd go through people. Like we trained, when we started sparring, we really blocked, we really kick, punch. And if you didn't block, you ate the technique because the other person's really doing it. Not to try to hurt you, but, they're throwing it at you.
Yeah.
So we go to tournaments and, dude, everybody else would they pull their punches or half block or not block at all, drop their hands. And I was taught, you drop your hands, I'm going to punch you or kick you in the face. Boom. And, you get disqualified. Why? You're not supposed to draw blood. You punch somebody in the face. But when you pop somebody in the face really fast, when there's no block, you're like, ooh, wow, crap. So we, I think I was around a brown belt level. And then the Weichi people in the area, we all got together with other, like Goju people, Shorin-ryu people, all the Okinawan people, because we get kicked out of tournaments all the time for excessive contact, which in our schools wasn't excessive.
Right.
But dude, a little bit of blood, that's nothing. What, dude, you're going at it. And all you got is a little line of blood coming out of your face. No, that's nothing. You got a black eye. Ooh, did your eyeball come out? No. So dude, I've broken my nose. Holy crap. Always with women too. Oh, dude, women have horrible spatial awareness. Now, this isn't a slight against women or anything. I'm not a misogynist, but they've done studies where women have less spatial distancing. I can say, yep, I found that out to be a fact. Why, dude? I've always been punched or kicked in the face by my training partners who were women, and they weren't trying to be mean. They were just like, "Oops, sorry," and I'm like, "I think you have trouble gauging distance." And they usually go, yeah, it's a little bit of a thing, where guys, we're used to throwing spears at, elephants back in the day, saber-tooth tigers. Hey, so we had to have that spatial awareness, that distancing ability much more than a woman. Of course, oh, you're a Nazi. Yeah, of course, you're probably going to get hateful comments on that. I'm like, no, it's not what I'm talking about.
Think back to maybe like your first 1 to 3 classes. You had been wanting to do this for a couple of years. You finally saw the demonstration. You joined. Once you got in, what was it about it that really drew you in and made you want to keep going?
When you watch, so it was watching everybody line up and perform in unison. So that synchronization, always just something about it would just be like, wow, that fluid, the movement. It doesn't matter the movement. When you see people doing something together and it's smooth, but it's not just smooth because it's smooth and then there's a little bit of sound because the uniforms, when you punch and kick, the Okinawan people wear the heavy duty canvas uniforms and they usually pop, pop, pop. Usually the Kung Fu uniforms don't. Korean uniforms, very similar to Japanese, they pop too. Yep. It all depends on, is it a Haikon uniform and do you iron it really well? Pop, pop. So the sound effects. So it was just hearing, you're seeing, you're hearing. And again, dude, didn't grow up in a parochial school system, so I didn't have a uniform. Mm-hmm. So watching people belong to the club and get to wear the uniform, you didn't just get the uniform, you had to earn it.
Right.
Like you didn't wear a gi for the first few classes. You didn't even have a belt until you got the gi. So, you're just wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt and you feel really out of place. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of the thing is they're testing you to see if you're going to, like some kids are like, when can I have my uniform? And they're like, yeah, you're not, they were very selective actually. Okay. But yeah, the first 3 questions, it was just watching everybody move, dude. And then they're kicking bags and then they're like hitting each other. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to do this.
That's cool.
Hit me, kick me, hold the bag for me, that kind of stuff. Oh, I'll hold the bag too. Because you're learning to, it's not just your training, you're sharing the training with your training brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And that was cool. Just the whole, again, when you're just a single kid and all of a sudden you get to be in a big group of people, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
For social. This is before the internet. People don't understand. This is before internet, cell phones, any of that stuff.
Right.
We had to create our fun. Nice. We didn't have a social platform to go on to play games with each other. We had to go play the games with each other and get outside. Right?
Oh, yeah. You mentioned tournaments. What drew you to the competition side of it? Or was that something, and I've talked to a few people in some schools where they didn't have a choice. So is that something you had a choice? And if so, what?
It wasn't like, they didn't ram it down our throats, but I was going to tournaments before as just supporting my friends because in Boston, I didn't grow up in Boston. I grew up south, but not that far away. You couldn't get there.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of what they call Walum Gong Fu. Walum Gong Fu is a mantis system. Shandong mantis, so it's more of a northern mantis or what they call 7-star instead of southern mantis. I trained in southern mantis, different system,
right?
Different forms, ugly forms. The 7-star stuff, I call it pretty, even though it's not pretty. It's pretty compared to my mantis. My mantis is like all about whapping people upside the head with something really pointy.
Right.
And I don't mean a weapon. I mean it's your knuckles.
Yeah.
And people are like, yeah, man, there are some systems that they train their hands. Karate does too. And we had makiwara. We had, all that. So yeah, I remember watching a student kicking and punching a makiwara post. Boom, boom. And it shook the whole wall, dude. I'm like, and then they had the weapons on the wall. And, It was just, I knew I was like, I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Right. Like a duck to water. Like I want to be here.
How long did you stay at that school?
Oh God, until I was 17.
Oh,
so
wow.
that was like 6-7 years. Yeah. And then unfortunately I had a little falling out with my teacher. My training partner killed himself, unfortunately.
Oh, wow.
He committed suicide. We don't know why. And it caused a big rift. And then, my teacher then did that happens to a lot of people, where all of a sudden you have an instructor who tells you it's his way or the highway, or her way or the highway. And this guy read me the riot act saying, oh, you're training with other people, yada, yada, yada. And look, your training partner's dead now. And I was like, oh, you're going to be a dick about this? Oh, okay. And wow. He and I had a bad falling out, and I never went back.
Now, did you attain your black belt from him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had my showdown. This is a little bit after that, and then I left.
So, did you get involved in the teaching side of things while you were at the Wei Chi School?
A little bit, but not as much as like in most of our dojos, the teachers they didn't sit on their asses and let the lower belts teach. They taught.
Okay.
And they trained. So that was my school. I've never had a teacher sit in a chair and direct or have a brown belt teach a class. Never.
Okay.
You would get called up to lead the warm-ups, but that was different.
Yeah.
And then you're getting judged. Well, they're watching you move. They're watching you teach. They're watching you listen. You understand the material. They don't let beginners do this. It's like been there for a few months. You got a couple of striders on your belt, 6 months to a year. Dude, we didn't get fast rank back then. I mean, you look back, you're like, yeah, it took 4 or 5 years to get your showdown. People are like, what? I'm like, yeah, not 2 years, bro, not a year. Like 4, and you're talking like 2, 3, 4 times a week. Still took 4 or 5 years. People are like, really? I'm like, yeah, dude, it was just, we trained hard. It's not quantity. It's always quality in our school.
Yeah.
I think most schools are like that, until the big dojo and the big Guon came in, That was in the 90s into the 2000s. I mean, this is late 70s, bro.
Okay.
So it was different.
So what was next then after you parted ways with that instructor? What was next?
Well, I had started training and stuff. So, I got into Hung Gar, trained with a Hung Gar teacher who's no longer with us, a man named Yan Lee. God bless his soul, R.I.P. And he had degrees from MIT. So he was showing me Kung Fu and why you hold these stances and give you a physical. When I say physical, I mean physical science. He gave a physics definition of why you do things. Not a chi or a mystical mumbo jumbo fairy power. He didn't get into any of that crap.
Okay. And
he was a Tai Chi master as well. So he explained everything through a physics definition. And it was wonderful because that's what I've always been interested in. It's like not the mystical side. The mystical side's cool, but we forget that there's a physicality and people kind of forget about it. They think about magical powers when they shouldn't be.
Right.
It's like, no, there's no magical powers. You're not going to point a finger at me in my face and that's going to melt off. That's only in the movies, only in the comic books. Yep. But there's no buts, okay, except the movies. Trust me, I've been all around the world. You think I haven't tried to find somebody who could teach me how to point the finger at somebody and melt them? Jeez. I'd be first in line. You want a kidney? Here's a kidney. You want my testicles? Here are my testicles. Are you kidding me? Do you have that power? Yeah. And I've actually had people, this is a little side note, but I've had people over the years contact me saying, everybody that is involved in these things, martial arts, yada, yada. I said, well, not everybody, but I have great, connections. I've got some great friends. Yeah, why? I want you to find me a Taoist master who can teach me to levitate. What? I'll give you $10,000 in gold if you find me a Taoist master who can teach me to fly. And I'm like, bro, keep your gold. I don't know. Dude, do you think I wouldn't be? You ever see me fly? Because, if I ever met the guy, I'd be flying, bro.
Wow.
I wish. And not just one. Like I've been probably 3 or 4. Yeah. 4 people have asked me to for high level Taoist, crazy, non-realistic training. I want the rainbow body. I want to be able to open up portals into other dimensions. What? They read it in the book and I'm like, okay, that's a book. Like, what do you mean? It's a book. It's not real. Like people think the 72 Arts of Shaolin is real.
Yeah. Some
of it is, and some of it is made up horse crap that would get you harmed, like banging your head on anything hard to train your head going. Yeah, don't do that. Don't bang on your head. Muhammad Ali will tell you that's a bad thing. And, what's his name there? Oh, God. The actor who's got Parkinson's.
Michael J. Fox.
Back to the Future. Michael J. Fox. So he played a lot of hockey as a kid, dude. A lot of hitting, banging your head. And again, Muhammad Ali's a boxer, getting hit in the head. Football players get hit in the head. Hockey players. Who doesn't get hit in the head a lot? Baseball players. Unless you get thrown at. Yeah. Basketball, yeah, you get elbowed in the head or head butted. You get a ball in the head, but it's rare compared to banging your heads, which other sports do.
Right.
So you got to watch that head. Protect the head.
So now, when you were starting to train other styles, was it just one, or were you branching out into multiple at that time?
Well, again, at the time, there was no internet, dude. So, you had to go find these people. You had to ask them. Some of these people were like, go away. So Jan was a very approachable man. I found out that one of my teachers had trained with him. I approached him. He goes, of course you can come train with me. And he had a very big smile on his face. And I didn't know why. I'm going to tell you why. We went out to the hall, big wide open room, concrete floor, and he opens his legs, into a wide stance, the horse stance. And he made me sit there for about an hour.
Nice.
And my legs were shaking after about 10 minutes. So holding a horse stance, having rubber legs. Oh my, dude, that was how they tested you. I went to different teachers around the world, and they would do the same thing. They would make you hold that stance for like an hour.
Yep.
And some of them said, if you fall on the ground, no deal. Some of them said, if you fall on the ground, I'm going to kick the ever-loving snot out of you. And I'm like, okay. And that kind of gave me impetus to not fall down. Why? I didn't want this teacher to kick the crap out of me. People are like, what? I'm like, yeah, dude, my teachers were ex-military. Again, my teachers were not the nicest people.
Mm-hmm.
And my Kung Fu teachers, dude, these people were, I was the only white person in the school. And not like, oh, yeah, you're going to tell me some racist? No, I'm not going to tell you stuff like that. But every now and then, the teacher would go in another room and the kids would come over and punch you, kick you. Hey, cracker, why don't you leave? And you're like, oh, God, here we go. Because I'm invading in their territory, dude. I'm the outsider. It's okay. After, a few punches, whatever, they figure it out. I'm like, you're cool. Hey, thanks. And now they're friends. And now they run the schools and, run other things,
Right.
benevolent associations, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah. That's funny, training in Chinese martial arts.
Yeah.
And then this is the end of high school for me. So then I went off to Indiana to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am at school, a young budding martial artist in Richmond, Indiana. Yeah, middle of nowhere. Lots of Taekwondo. Wasn't interested. And there was a Sanyo plant in Richmond, and I was a Japanese major. And Sanyo is a Japanese company, and they had actually Japanese nationals living there, working. They had a teacher of Shorinji Kempo. Shorinji Kempo is kind of funny. Translation is Shaolin Kung Fu,
mm-hmm.
but it's not Shaolin Kung Fu. It is more like Hakoryu Jiu-Jitsu. It's more like Daito. It's really nasty kind of combat Jiu-Jitsu with karate mixed in.
Okay.
Not really Kung Fu, but combat, martial arts. And they teach it in a way it's actually pretty effective. And the training is brutal. And then we train on, like wooden floors. There's no mats.
Mm-hmm.
So you're training all your ukemi and your break falls on wood.
Nice.
So this is in Indiana. This guy was about 5'2". And dude, he used to lock me up and throw me. He used to dump me like there's no tomorrow. And he'd laugh. He's like, you don't get it. He goes, my center of mass is under yours. I'm always going to throw you faster than you can you can recover. He goes, you have to do something different when you're dealing with little people. So I would have to make sure they didn't get under me or in. I'd have to keep them at bay. So I'd have to, throw my arms and legs out at them to, keep them away. Because if they got in, they could just bend me over and I'm screwed because they're lower to the ground than I am.
Right.
So their fulcrum is lower. It's a lever. I'm going to go, whoa, oops. People understand that. They're like, what? Yeah, you have to understand these things. Now we know you need to learn grappling of some sort. Well, you need to learn to roll around on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You need to learn to fall. You need to learn to punch, kick, and then if you want to, you can learn weapons. That's kind of the advanced stuff, really.
Right.
You got to put those white pajamas on. You got to put those black pajamas on.
How long did you train with them then in Indiana?
Well, in Indiana for 4 years, of course.
Okay.
And then I, my junior year abroad, I was in Japan, and I trained Shorinji Kempo when I was there for my year.
Nice.
I trained Aikido. I trained everything. Aikido. And then I graduated in '89, moved back to Japan, and lived there for a period of time. And then when I was living there, I trained in mostly Aikido, Daito-ryu, Aikijutsu. They had a local Budokan, so they had some like Shito-ryu, people, Kyokushinkai people.
Right.
The Shotokan teacher and I, we didn't have a good relationship. He didn't like foreigners. And he most especially didn't like me teaching Okinawan karate at the Budokan. Yeah. So we had a couple of run-ins, me and this guy. He thought he was better than he was, and he got his clock cleaned a few times. That was pretty funny. That's 87. So then I come back, and he's still there. Oh dear Lord, now I'm living here. I can't get away from him. So yeah, we had another, shall we say, sparring match, and he didn't win that one either. And then a few of his students jumped in, and they took the wooden floor temperature challenge too. Equal rights, equal lefts, equal kicks, equal throws. Hey, I'm all about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who jumps in the ring. It's all good, but don't yell or cry when when I break you.
So how long did you live in Japan for?
Oh, dear Lord, altogether almost 6 years.
Okay, cool. When you were going there, what were you pretty much training martial arts full time, or are you working? Doing
No,
something
I mean,
else?
I was working, dude. So I was working for the Board of Education. I had a job. And so, I went around and I had classes at like local junior high. I had classes during the week. I taught at Japanese University because, I'm fluent. I was fluent in Japanese when I went over.
Okay.
It was my minor. I minored in Chinese and Japanese. Got a BA in Japanese studies. And so taught at like a junior college. We call it a community college. They call them junior colleges over there. And that was fun, and teaching in Japanese because they're like, I can teach you why we say things and I can explain it to you in Japanese. And then you're going to learn better. Why? Because I explained it to you in a way that you're going to understand because I speak Japanese like you did. My teachers were not, foreigners. They were Japanese natives.
Right.
So everybody's like, man, your Japanese is really good. I'm like, it better be. I had it, many hours a day, every day for 4 years. Yeah. And then lived there for a year, and then lived there for a whole, for another period, so, oh yeah, bro.
Okay.
And everybody's like, why'd you come back? I'm like, well, I got lonely. Everybody's like, why didn't you have a Japanese wife? I'm like, well, I'm dark, I'm hairy, I'm tattooed, and I speak Japanese very well. So the Japanese women were like, who's Japanese? Your mom or your dad? And they thought it was half Japanese. And when you're half Japanese in anything, they consider you like a, and they don't look at you in a good way. They kind of look at you like a mud, like, you're a mudblood kind of thing.
Yeah.
And plus I was young, dude. I'm in my 20s. So I didn't want to get married at that age.
Right.
So if I'm not going to marry these girls, they're not going to date me because if they date me and I don't marry her, then this poor girl's going to be a pariah. They're going to be like, oh, you dated the white guy. They're not know he's going to touch you. And people said, they really do that? I'm like, yep, they really do that still. Yeah. Welcome to the world.
Where'd you end up when you came back?
Well, I came back, to Massachusetts, went to acupuncture school, and then started working, teaching, training with different people. I got involved with, who did I start training when I came back? Started training with I met Guan Sai Hung, the wandering Taoist that, Denmen, what's his name? Denmen Ding, Denmen Dao. Anyway, he trained with Guan Sai Hung Sifu, and a really interesting guy, really interesting character. Learned some really interesting Qigong and things. Started getting more into the push hands and, into more application. I started training with different workshops. I was considered like a ringer. My friends would bring me in because I'm big. I'm 6 foot tall, 300 pounds.
Yep.
They would always bring me into these workshops and say, do it on this guy. They'd all point to me. And half the time the master would be like, oh, looking really nervous. And the other half, the master's looking like he wants to eat me. Oh, trap. And I've woken up in the hospital a couple of times with these people looking at me going, man, you got balls, kid. You got no brains, but you got balls. And I'm like, thank you for not killing me. Thank you. Because dude, they could have easily taken me out. They were the real deal. And I went at them. But, the other people, of course, who went at them and we walked through them like they weren't even there. It's like, oh man, again, this is before the internet.
Right.
This is when you weren't on the phone calling people, talking to people like this. It would cost you a lot of money back then.
Unless it was after 9 o'clock.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I mean, people don't understand yet. But what? Oh, yeah. Like back when we were young. Holy Lord. And living in Japan, like if you called me, just me picking up the phone talking to you cost me money.
Yeah.
But almost the same as if I called you. And I go, how'd you figure that out? My friend called me. I talked to her like for an hour, like an old girlfriend. And I got a phone bill for like $400. I'm like, what the hell?
Wow.
Jesus. So I'm like, yeah, don't call me, write me. So I back in the day, we used to write letters all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can, text through an app, you can email. I mean, we didn't have any of that. When I was in college in the 80s, bro, oh my God, we had the VAX system was our first system, that magnetic tape.
Nice.
There were no discs. The disc came out my sophomore year, the big floppy ones.
Yeah.
And then my junior year into senior year, because I was in Japan, but in Japan they had the little discs, like, I don't know, like 3x3,
The 3.5-inch floppies. Yeah.
Yeah. So they weren't floppies. They were plastic. They were hard, but they shrunk the big floppies down to the little one. It was before the CD and the DVD.
Yep.
It was that. And then they got thicker. So it was like, oh, they have these like, thin ones that have so much on them. And then they have these like 1.5-inch thick ones that have like, it was stupid. It was like maybe half a gig or something. Back then, which was crazy. Now, of course, these little tiny SD cards have like, 100 gigs on them.
Yep.
Or a terabyte. I mean, there's going to be ones that are going to be a terabyte soon. It's like, holy Lord. They're just learning, again, the technology, which is funny because in martial arts, we train these antique ways of moving and antique ways of dealing with violence. But we're preserving these antique ways through modern technology, like we're doing right now. We're talking on the phone using an app. That's kind of cool. People are like, really? I'm like, yeah, you think about it. It's like, how did you know, how did you talk with your teacher? You usually sent them letters. I mean, or you called them. Imagine calling Okinawa or China. I can only imagine if you don't speak the language, you're going to have to get somebody that does.
Yeah.
So after college, living in Japan, coming back here, becoming an acupuncturist, now I've trained with different people.
Mm-hmm.
And I trained with Dr. John Painter for a while. He was really good. And then I got out of acupuncture school, and then, I stopped teaching for him and gave the school to my senior student. And then I went. And I'd always been training with a guy named Roger Haygood, Siva Roger Haygood. He's a Haka Mantis teacher. Very good.
Okay.
People say, if you ever want to learn Southern Mantis, you go find Roger Haygood. Go find Siva Roger Haygood. He's got the goods.
Nice.
And then I've just been teaching small groups, one-on-ones, private lessons. I'm not into the big schools. I go to tournaments, and meet my friends and, other things, but I just never got into plus the money. You know how much money it is for a brick and mortar school?
Yeah, not cheap.
Here in Florida, I mean, most of the time they want like a year or two's rent up front.
Jeez.
Because of all the fraud. And so and then with a build-up, you're talking like $500,000 to $1 million. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But if you're a big karate chain, of course, you get that kind of money.
So did you end up in Florida next then?
Well, living in Massachusetts, practicing, I got married. I met a woman. She had a black belt, was a gym rat. Oh my God. Fell in love, got married.
Nice.
We moved down here in 2013, and then we got divorced in 2018. Amicable. Things didn't work out. Hey, whatever. Wished her well. We don't talk anymore, but there's no animosity.
Right.
And then I moved up to Port Richey, was working for somebody up there. And then, now I'm working for myself. I live here in Sarasota, again, teaching, training, treating, doing what I can.
Think back to the very first time you taught, whether it was fully teaching a class or just running warm-ups, whatever. Think about that to now. What do you think has changed the most about your teaching style over the years?
Oh, dear Lord, now I didn't know anything back when I first started teaching. When I was showing other people, I thought I knew. I didn't know anything. Now, of course, having training in different systems for so many years and understanding the kinesiology better, biology better, movement. I didn't know anything. People think you get a black belt. Oh, yeah, now you're a master. Oh, please don't say that word.
Yeah, no.
Dr. John Painter, he said, the only masters are people that are dead, and they have no chance to train their art. If you have a chance to train your art, you're not a master. You're a perpetual student. Other people are supposed to call you that. You don't call yourself anything. You're not supposed to call yourself sensei or sifu. So it's funny over here. These cultural appropriated terms get misused all the time, and it's kind of funny. But hey, whatever. It's like whatever. We're not in Asia. I understand. I try not to be the martial art police until we get into like fakery and fraud, but that's a whole other conversation. The word it's misused, like a lot of words in our culture right now, due to various people just misusing them, thinking if I use this more, it'll mean it more. No, it kind of takes away from the meaning and the power of the word. So yeah. And then of course, Kyoshi, Hanshi, Jungshi, you get the Chinese version, Jungshi. Family master, familial.
So what led to you starting to do, it looks like you on your website, you have like training DVDs and a book and stuff. So what kind of led to that?
Well, I've always had a fascination with herbs and with Ditta, what we call Ditta-ke, or we call, Teisha-jan or Teisha-gong. You're talking iron skills training. You're talking the developing of your body, forging, conditioning, creating powerful anatomical weapons so that in times of crisis, you can do damage to another human being. And when they hit you, they're going to do less damage to you and more damage to themselves. So I was fascinated, dude, like watching, monks break bricks, just brick breaking, board breaking, kicking bats. I was kicking bats by the time I got out of my Weichi school. We used to kick, Louisville sluggers with our shins and break them. And people would just be like, what the? And, it's nothing, dude. To me, I worked as a bouncer, but that's, I got to experience a crucible of martial art experience that most people never get. I got to use them for real, and against people that were trying to harm me. And I found out very quickly that some of the stuff my teachers taught me didn't work because they never got into a fight, and I had to figure it out on my own a little bit here and there. A little bit, not too much, but you just change some of the stuff you're learning and you're like, oh yeah, holy crap. Very interesting. It's very interesting, and I tell people I wouldn't want most people to do it. Why? It's really nasty. You really want to learn to fight because it's not fun. And I've got a lot of friends now who are crippled. I treat these people, and dude, now they're in their late 30s, 40s. Some of these fighters, MMA fighters, and their bodies are wrecked. Yeah. What did you think? I mean, boxers, their bodies get wrecked. Wrestlers, Olympic wrestlers who wrestle, they get wrecked. Mm-hmm. It's just, they only got so many miles on the body, and that starts to decompose and break down. you got to be careful or you're going to have trouble. I'm lucky. I don't have that many injuries, but I got a few.
Yeah.
I got a bum right knee. What? Yeah, dude, getting kicked, getting broken, smashed. Yeah. I limp around, I gimp around, but I'm still limping and gimping. I'm not in a wheelchair, and I'm not, like Honey Boo Boo size. Nope.
What can someone expect then if they get your book or your DVD? What?
Well, again, if you're interested in finding out how to progressively train your body and train your hands. So a lot of people say, that brick breaking stuff's hooey. No. Yeah, yes and no. If you really train your hands, you can break a lot of bricks and coconuts, dude. You'd be surprised. But that's not what it's about. It's about having something, a stronger arm, a stronger hand to use. It's a tool. In other words, you don't have to use it to hurt people. You can just have strong hands because you have strong hands.
Right.
And now you don't have to worry about your hands getting sore doing whatever you do during the day. So it's a strengthening program. It's a very specialized program to train the hands. But, you don't just train the hands, you train your arms too, because what's attached to the hand? Your arm. So I wrote a book. Why? Because the books that were available, dude, on the market were crap. They taught half the training or didn't give you anything, gave you wrong medicine, no herbs. When you're banging on your body, you need recovery. You need to make sure you're not going to harm yourself.
Right.
And the Chinese figured out a lot of these things with these formulas where we make liniments. There's herbs you take internally as well. And you train your hands so that you can do something without harming yourself.
Okay. Let's say someone does it. They buy the book and they buy the herbs and stuff like that. How long does it process before someone would start seeing results?
Within 3 months, within 90 days, you're going to see your hands get harder. Why? We're talking about anatomical laws here. Yeah. Wolff's law and Davis's law. When you put stress on tissue, when I say tissue, you're talking about osseous tissue. You're talking about muscle tissue, dermal tissue. Okay. Bone, skin, muscle, tendon. Okay. When you put stress on these things, they get thicker, stronger, and healthier. These are laws, and they have other rules too. But what you're doing with iron palm training is you're doing progressive training by hitting something that's hard. You're giving your body resistance. And over time, that resistance is going to develop into a stronger, thicker, durable hand. And then you can take that hand and you can grab somebody with it, because the training isn't just about breaking stuff. That training is going to make your whole hand stronger, your tendons thicker, the muscles thicker. So you have thicker muscles and tendons in your hand and probably in your lower arm too. So when you grab somebody, they're going to know it because there's training. We have tools. I have these copper balls. They're 5 pounds, and I sit there and twirl them all the time. And people pick them up and go, "Oh my God, these are heavy." And I go, "Pussy." They're like, "What?" And I go, "You heard me. Well, you're deaf too." "What?" "Nothing." I'm a wise ass, bro. It's just, I'm very quick. I don't sit there and calculate and then give you this response. You say something and boom, boom, it just comes out of my mouth sometimes.
Nice. I'm the same way.
I'm like, Jesus, where the hell did that come from? I'm like, I don't know, dude. It came out of my left brain. I don't know.
It drives my wife crazy.
dude, yeah. My wife's like, "Damn, you always have a comeback." I'm like, I don't know if I always do. It's just if you engage with me, I respond. So it's more of that. I'm responding to engagement. That's all.
So you talked a little bit about training MMA fighters and stuff. So overall, what are your thoughts on MMA and the UFC? And is that something you're a fan of?
Well, I've had training in Shuaijiao. Shuaijiao is like Chinese judo, and it's a way of throwing them, and dealing with that. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of training. There's very little form, and then you're grabbing each other. It's like judo. You learn the mechanics of the movement, and then you're doing it against somebody. So that kind of training is much more tactically superior than, say, karate or kung fu, where you're doing these empty hand forms and then you're doing drills after. So judo, jiu-jitsu, much more, I like that model better. Getting into it quicker if you can. That's always going to give you a better result. I mean, there's basically, I learned I'm going to give you something that can be applied to anything, not just martial arts.
Right.
And it's the 3 questions. I got this from Dr. John Painter. He taught this to us. And the 3 questions are, what is the material? That's the first question. The second question is, how do you train it? And the third question is, what is it for? How do you apply it? If you cannot answer all of those questions, you're wasting your time and it's not martial arts. Now, you could apply this to anything else. In other words, what is it? How do you do it? What's it for? And if you can't answer the questions, then you don't really know what you're doing, whatever it is. Okay. It's a way of just accountability.
Right.
It's like, look, I need to do these things and then I understand it versus I don't know anything about this and I'm just pretending I do, which there's a lot of martial arts. Oh yeah, we're so deadly. We don't do anything. Oh God. You're so deadly. Really? How about you get out and demo? There's a lot of people here in Florida who don't go to any randoris or any scrimmages because they've claimed that, they're challenge fights. Yeah, challenge fights. It's an open scrimmage to get on the mat with somebody and just play around with them. play, not challenge fight. What the hell? But certain frauds, dude, they're trying to hurt me. You're the one who claims you got a 7th-degree black belt in judo, bro, and you're not going to show up to any of these judo scrimmages? Huh. Okay. Just funny how, these people, they claim all these high ranks and all these multiple skills, and they never show them, except on another fraud teacher in their system, or a little stick skinny kid or girl, one of their students. It's never a dynamic, and it's funny. You can tell, like judo and, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, BJJ, and judo, it's really hard to fraud. It's really hard to fake and fraud these guys. Why? Because they'll get you on the mat. They'll make you, everybody's going to know you don't know what you're doing real quick.
Exactly.
It's more easy in the karate kung fu. You can, jump around, do all these unarmed things because that's the majority of the training. But again, it's about get on the mat. Can you apply it? And if you can't, well, okay. I don't know where the malfunction is, but there's a malfunction somewhere.
Yeah, you'll appreciate this. So when I was living in California in '96, I moved up there to train in American Kempo, and I was looking at other styles also, and I found first time I had ever seen anything in like a phone book. It's for young kids who don't remember what that is, a book with phone numbers. But yeah, I found a ninjutsu school. So of course I called him. I'm like, ask him some questions. I'm like, I'd like to come check it out. And he goes, well, we don't allow spectators. Why? He's like, well, the stuff we teach is extremely secretive and deadly, and we just can't have anyone walking. And he was deadpan, and I'm just trying not to laugh on the phone to him. And I'm just like,
was this like the Bujinkan guy or some other ninja guy?
I'm trying to remember. I mean, like I said, this was in '96. This was in the high desert in California, and probably like July of '96.
Holy dude, that's just like wow. I mean, dude, there's so many people back. I mean, the jitsu in that part of Cal, I have no idea. I'm just thinking out loud, right?
I wish I would have like wrote down the info or something. I'd almost love to get a hold of the library out in Victorville, California, and be like, do you happen to have a Yellow Pages from 1996? Just so I could find that school and see what it was or something. But
we used to get the Boston phone books. They changed, and we get all the old ones, and we get boxes and boxes of them before we had recycling. And we'd all duct tape them, and we'd make these cheap ass pads out of them.
Nice.
And so I learned this in my Okinawan karate school, but then I would just do it. So, I don't have pads to hit. So, get phone books, duct tape them, hockey tape them, whatever. Just tape them with something so they wouldn't break apart. And they're dense, and they're kind of like a dense pad. Yeah, sure. Boom, boom. So you punch and kick them.
Yep.
And they're portable. Put them in a backpack. And
that's funny.
But, I was showing, I've had some MMA guys, bring me out to their school saying, hey, let's look at the differences in looking at traditional throwing compared to MMA throwing. Because a lot of guys don't throw; they just trip, and then or they do a very, very abbreviated hip throw.
Right.
They just want you on the ground, and I'm like, well, watch out! Why? So of course I pick on the biggest guy. I go, try to run me over. What? Try to run me over like a bull. And he comes, and I boom, throw him right in his head. And they were like, Jesus! I'm like, yeah, dude. The faster you come at me, that's all going in the throw. I'm not going to lose any momentum. I'm going to use you to throw you. And they were like, whoa! I go, so watch out. You get a Shuai in the ring with you. He's going to pick you up and dump you on your head. He ain't dumping you on your ass to jump on you and, mount you. We're throwing you on your head or your upper neck. Why? I want to crank you, and then I'm going to kick you. You're on the ground. I'm going to stomp your ass. I don't want to go to the ground because we don't go to the ground in Shuai. Dude, we hold on to them. So we throw you. If we don't like you, we hold on to you. We rip the opposite way, pull your fucking arm out. And people go, what? I go, yeah, dude, there's all kinds of ways you can really make it worse. Throw somebody fast. In other words, you throw them so fast they can't break fall, and they hit the ground flat. It's speed.
Yeah.
And it breaks, dude. And they break stuff. Or they die because, dude, you smash their head. You throw them on their head, boom, game over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying to go throw people on their heads. That's not what we're talking about. I'm just saying some arts, traditionally, the theory was in Shuai, you threw people on their head. Now, of course, in a competition, you throw them in a nice arc, big arc so that they can break fall. But in combat, you're throwing them right where your feet are.
Right.
You're turning, boom, and they go north-south really violently and they break. People don't understand. It's not just about throwing people. It's about violently torquing their body in a tight space. You can break them.
Yeah.
It's like bone breaking. People are like, what? I'm like, oh, dude. Again, depending on if you're out doing a technique, medium, or if you're really up close to somebody, it changes the way the techniques, what happens to them.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, really? I'm like, oh, yeah, dude. Don't you like what if stuff? We what if stuff all the time. Wait, what if this? What if that? What if I'm not wearing my gi and I'm wearing tight jeans? Can I kick above the waist? Nope. Well, you better learn how to kick people from the waist down then really well. Or why do you wear a gi? Why don't you train in your street clothes? Why don't you train in what you wear? Dude, I wear cook pants. They don't have a gusset, but they're black, big. They're fat pants, basically. They got an elastic waist. Ooh, But that's what I wear for uniform. I wear scrub tops. People are like, why don't you have a uniform? Why don't you have a red belt? I'm like, you really want me to wear red? What? I have red belts from my CLOT teacher, because a few years ago, about 2015, I got a phone call and it's like, hey, this is Matt Fury. And I'm like, Matt Fury, the wrestling guy, the grappling guy, the info marketer. Yep. Same guy. He got a line. He wanted to learn about Iron Palm, dude. He'd seen Iron Palm. And he was like, I wonder if there's anybody in the area. And a friend of his who knew me was like, oh, you got to talk to Dale. And so I met Matt Fury, dude. We've been training partners ever since.
Nice. And
it's great to have somebody. Training partners are invaluable, dude. It's great to not only train with somebody, but to have somebody you can talk to like this, where you're talking to somebody who understands. Because usually we don't have people that understand.
Yeah.
Why do you wear white pajamas? Why do you wear black silk? Why do you dance around at tournaments? And oh God, my dad, he didn't understand the Kung Fu guys at all. He would look at the karate people, kick, punch, chop. He's like, yeah, I get that. But he goes, what the hell are those guys wearing the silk with the limp wrists and stuff? Because he saw all the Mantis people and they would make, they'd make the Mantis, the hooks, but their hands are going up and down. And he's like, what's up with that? It's like, Dad,
That's funny.
You're going to get in trouble. They're going to come kill us, Like, Jesus, we're at the tournament. He's talking loud. The Kung Fu people are looking at him. And one of the teachers, who's a friend of mine, came over and said, hey, Mr. Dugas. And he goes, oh, hey, John. And he explained to my dad why they kind of did that with their hands. He goes, oh, okay.
Nice.
And my dad still said, I still think they're limp-wristed idiots, Jesus, Dad, you're going to get me killed. Shut up. Because we used to go to these tournaments. You've been to some big tournaments when you were younger. Yeah. Oh, my God. There'd be like 300-400 kids.
Yep.
About 200 adults. There's like 1,000 people competing. You got 3,000 people in the stands. It's a whole gymnasium full of people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We used to have huge tournaments up. We had the crane tournaments, the karate referees in New England people. Every state had huge tournaments, bro.
Yeah.
Like every weekend you could go to a tournament, like we'd have tournaments in Mass, you go up to Maine, you go up to New Hampshire, go to Vermont, go to Connecticut, go to Rhode Island. And if you wanted to go to New York, Albany's only about 3 hours away from Boston. So we were pretty much, we had a lot of that kind of inner New England thing, which was cool. But I wasn't a huge competitor. I mean, we did because we wanted to. It wasn't like our sensei made us.
That's cool.
And dude, I usually use zone out. I'd go into my form, zone out, and I'd win first place. And I'm like, oh my God, I did a horrible job. And I won what? Because I just got into that because you're in front of people and you're like, oh, this is a little intimidating. Yeah, you got 3,000 people looking at your stupid butt. Oh, hey. And so, you get into that. They talk about it. They talk about the no mind, the mushin. You get in the zone. I got in the zone, dude, did my stuff. And then they liked it so much. I won a trophy. Hey.
That's cool.
I gave my old man the trophies, make him proud.
Nice. My one and only tournament I ever entered, the one I was forced to enter when I was an orange belt in 1992, I actually got my headgear kicked off in a sparring match. And I remember I from across the gym, I could hear my mom up in the stands.
Yeah.
Just like
the intake of breath.
Yep. And my first thought was, Mom, don't come down here.
Oh, dude.
I was like 18 years old. I mean, it was, freshman in college and stuff. And yeah. Backspin to the head and boom.
Oh, yeah. People talk about, they say, well, okay, you're a martial art guy, right? Yeah. They go, you've trained for a long time. I'm like, I've been training for 46 years. I've been training since I've been training since I was a kid. A long time. And they're like, well, what have you learned? I'm like, I've learned a lot. I've learned much. I've learned how to move the human body. Oh, yeah. And people are like, what was the hardest thing to learn? I'm like, how not to hurt people, how to walk away. Why? Oh, dude, get hot. You never fight hot.
Mm-hmm.
People always say, well, what's the first rule of martial arts? Don't fight when you're angry. Don't get angry. Don't get emotional. Why? You're going to lose every time. Why? Because somebody who's cool, calm, and collected is going to outmaneuver you because you're hot. And people always laugh. Oh, did you take your dad to see the Karate Kid movie? The worst thing in the world to do. I used to get out of chores because I had to go to demo team practice. I had to go this, that, martial art.
Mm-hmm.
And then my dad, we go to see the Karate Kid. He's watching, the kid paint the fence, wax the cars. I'm like, he goes, you can do all that work that you're getting out of it. It's training. And I'm like, but demo team. Dude, my dad called my sensei and asked. He comes in and goes, your sensei said it's okay. It's real training.
That's
crap.
Awesome.
I was crap. I get my sensei threw me under the bus.
I love your dad.
It's
That's
okay.
Awesome.
We don't need him for demo team all the time. Here he can do some yard work, housework, paint the house. Oh man, the old man was like, paint the house. Yeah.
That's
Jeez,
awesome.
Dad. Jeez. But, he's still alive. My parents are still alive. I talk to him every day. And,
That's so cool.
So every now and then I'll walk by and he'll go, whoa, he makes like a Bruce Lee sign. Jesus, Dad. My brother too.
High five your dad for me and tell him that was awesome.
Oh, yeah. I got, one day, I'll tell you a story. Well, my brother used to yell at me because I'd be out in the backyard doing something. And I wasn't living at the house. My dad's in the pool. We had a pool at the house where we grew up. He's in a pool. He's in like a chair, one of those floaty chairs. Yep. He's just sitting in the pool. And I'm out back doing this technique where you're whipping your hands out to the side. It's kind of a crane technique, but it's more of you're just trying to whap somebody who's beside you. Mm-hmm. And I always told my brother, if I'm out in that corner of the yard, you see me doing something, leave me alone, you jackass. Don't do the, I'm going to be your brother and give you crap kind of thing. Well, he sees me. He opens the window and goes, hey, if you flap harder, you might get off the ground a little quicker. Wow. Yeah. So he comes out, he's walking by, he's trying to get in the pool. And as I'm walking by, I do that technique to him and I whap him with my arm and my hand in his back, like right under his shoulder blades, right like where his diaphragm is in the front, but in the back. Yep. And I hit him, whack. Dude, he couldn't breathe. He couldn't talk. He's like, oh. He's looking at my dad. My dad looks at him and goes, payback's a bitch, huh? Told you not to bother him. He's training. Hey, he showed you what it's for. And he was trying to, I had to turn him around. I punched him in the stomach and slapped him in the face and it released. He's like, oh my God. I go, yeah, dude, don't bother me. I told you not to bother me. You want to bother me? That's what happens.
Nice.
It's not mystical or anything. It's just you can do things. If you know where to hit people, you can cause them to have these sensations of, oh my God, what did you do to me? Nothing. I just arrested your breath for a minute. It'll come back. That's but awesome. You're going to freak out because you think you can't breathe. You just caused the diaphragm to spasm. That's all it is, just spasm, because you put too much energy into that muscle, and the muscle is reactive. And people are like, really? I'm like, oh, dude, some of this stuff is very interesting. You don't have to hit people like a truck sometimes. Where are you hitting? How are you hitting? With what? I tell people, go back to the old boxing manuals, dude. Learn how to hit a heavy bag. Yeah. That's the best way to learn how to punch somebody. Not a makiwara, not an iron palm bag. Those are training tools. Once you learn how to punch, then you go and you train that damn tool. Pardon my French. You train that tool to be the most optimal tool you have in your toolbox. Yeah. So don't you want to have the world's strongest hands, the world's strongest shins, the world's strongest forearms, the world's strongest shoulders? I mean, that's what I want. Then again, that's a good question. Is why? Why did people get into the training? Usually it's self-defense. Usually people get picked on, Yep. And there's nothing wrong with that. Or people just they get bored. They want something that's totally different. Right. And getting, like for me, a few years ago, I hit a rut. And, my training partner, Matthew, was like, hey, you should never get into a rut. You should always seek out instruction from something brand new. So in other words, when you hit a plateau, find something new because you can learn it and master it. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then you get out of that rut. You get out of that rut because you're learning something new. It's neurogenic. It's going to build more things in your brain. Right. People want to go, well, cursive handwriting, practice cursive handwriting. Why do you think masters in the past practiced calligraphy? Mm-hmm. It wasn't just to learn the calligraphy. There is a connection between the hand and the brain. And if you put something in your hand and move it around while you're watching it, dude, there's something about it. It makes brain cells. It's neurogenic. Hands and feet. When you're on your hands and feet, if you're holding something in your hands or you're opening and closing your hands and you're pumping your feet, it's neurogenic too. Very interesting. Yeah. You can build brain cells by moving your hands and feet. You're going to build brain cells. And people go, what? I go, interesting. Yeah.
So you mentioned 46 years in martial arts. So in all those years, is there one philosophy you've learned that rises to the top of your list?
Oh, God. Block soft, hit hard. I
like
when
that.
You have to. When you have to. But again, be a mirror. In other words, be a mirror. Somebody's, you're happy, they're happy. They're sad, you're sad. They're throwing kicks and punches. Well, okay, I'm gonna. It's not personal. It's business. Yeah. So I tell people, be like a mirror. Dude. Don't get mad. It's business. It's not personal. If it gets personal, then you make it your business to get out of there. Get out of there. Why? Because something's gonna happen. You're either gonna hurt yourself or you're gonna hurt somebody else because you're gonna be angry and you're gonna do something that you're gonna pay for. Right. Not every situation is a self-defense situation where you're going to have to unalive somebody. Right. That's not what we talk about. Everybody's like, oh, you guys want to unalive people. What? No, that's the last thing we want to do. And we usually try to de-escalate. Think of it like a set of stairs. Somebody wants, they want to ramp it up to a fight. I'm going to try to, hey, let's go back. No, hey, sorry. Yep. First thing I do, I was a bouncer for years. First thing I do is, hey, what's going on? What's the problem? And people would tell you, and you're like, oh, okay. And my reaction was, hey, you want a drink? And 9 times out of 10, the drunk guy goes, okay. And I get him a beer, and there's no more problem. Nice. And he's sitting there next to me at the bar so I can watch him. And I just made a new friend.
There you go.
When I had trouble with women at bars, it was utter chaos and violence, and they wanted to kill everybody. And I try to buy them a drink. They throw it in my face, break the bottle over my head. Oh, yeah, dude. Women. Wow. Drunk women. Again, people are like, you're a misogynist. No, I'm not. I've had more trouble with damn women than guys, and I don't know why. Again, I would say, hey, what's the problem? Guy yells, screams, something's wrong. Hey, you want a beer? Really? Yeah, dude, I'll get you a beer. Free. I love you. Okay, cool. What's wrong with that? Nothing. Again, when you anger a female, like, look at nature, dude. Sometimes the female of the species is the bigger, meaner one. And people, what are you talking about? Bears? Female bears are bigger usually. Look at spiders. The female is the huge, nasty, scary one, and the male is this tiny little itty bitty spiders, the male. The big, scary tarantula, yeah, that's a female. Watch out. She's going to get mad, dude, and bite your face off.
Black widow.
Yeah, dude. Tiny little thing that could kill you. Again, hard to get bit by them because they're so small, but the possibility exists.
Yeah. Cool. So I have some fun questions to wrap up the interview.
Sure, please. Let's have it.
This one doesn't have to be 4. I've had as few as 2 and as many as 8, so it's kind of up to you. But just give like 3, 4, 5 names that you would put on your personal Mount Rushmore of martial arts.
Oh my God! Like personal, not Bruce Lee. Everybody's like, why aren't you going to put dead? Bruce Lee's dead, buried, and rotten. Let him stay there. He's not what he claims to be. But that's again a whole other. But I'd put Ed Parker. I'd put Ed Parker up there.
Nice.
I'd put Ed Parker. I would put. Oh God, this is kind of hard. I mean, do they have to be alive or do they have to be deceased?
I honestly, a lot of people have picked Bruce Lee. People have picked
right.
Kano.
I'd put.
People.
So I'd put I'm going to put Parker, Kano, Funakoshi.
Nice.
Gracie.
There you go. Nice.
He started. I mean, the Gracies. You can say the Gracies. Wally J. You got to put Wally J up there, bro.
Nice. I don't think anyone's ever put Wally J. That's actually surprising.
Yeah, Wally. Because Wally studied with Okazaki Sensei and and other traditional people before he got into his stuff, and he trained a lot of kung fu too.
Yeah.
I think he got a lot of the concept of his little manipulations from Chinna, from Chinese grappling. But I'm never going to prove it. They're all dead, And now his son Leon, he goes around doing that no-touch knockout stuff. Oh, jeez, please, come on, dude. Your dad was Wally J, for freak's sake. He can tie you over a pretzel. Your mother was an incredible practitioner. You used to throw your dad around in demos, man, and you're doing no-touch knockouts. Oh, come on. But again, I'm not going to judge you that hard. Why? Because, dude, Leon J's got a decent background. If you want to do that stuff, go ahead. I know he can wrap you up and take care of you if he has to.
Right.
But I hope he doesn't try any no-touch knockout thinking, it's going to work. No. Do your jiu-jitsu, dude. You got like really good jiu-jitsu. Play your strengths. Make sure that whatever your faults are minimized so that your strengths are maximized. Right.
Right.
But yeah, that would be my list, dude.
That's a great list, man. I like it.
Some people hate Funakoshi. Oh God, some people hate him.
One of the first martial arts books I ever read was his.
Right. Yep. But he brought it to mainland Japan, dude. He was one of the first guys. And then after him came, Chojin, Miyagi Chojin went over and different people. But he was the first one because he lived there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And people forget he was Okinawan.
Yeah.
You look at him, dude. You look at the Okinawans at the time. You look at the Japanese, they didn't look the same. Why? Because they weren't the same, bro.
Right.
They're more homogenized now after the war, but they're a different culture. They're Aboriginal. They're old, dude. They're like the Ainu, like the Ryukyuan people and the Ainu are related distantly. I lived up north in Iwate in Japan, and so I went to Hokkaido a whole bunch, and I met some Ainu ancestors, and they looked at me and they said, "You kind of look like us," and I'm like, "Funny, I got Indian in me." And the Indian dude and First Nation, Canadian First Nation dude, they all came over from Asia way back when they had a land connection.
Mm-hmm.
But then they developed into Indians, not Asians.
Right.
But then you look at the Inuit, you look at the Eskimo and the Inuit, and they still have Asian features. And you're like, what the heck? Yeah, dude, they're living proof of they came over.
Nice. All right. How about, now you can't pick your own, a favorite martial arts book?
Ooh, yeah, no, I'm not going to pick my own favorite martial arts book.
Some people have tried to. That's why I had to start saying, please don't pick your own.
Oh,
just to be safe.
That's just shameless self-promotion. I mean, come on, that goes way beyond. But no, I wouldn't say that. But right now, I would say Matt Fury's the martial art book of wrestling.
Oh.
Or the book of martial art wrestling. Yeah, that was his first book. It's really hard to get, but it's a really great book.
Okay. I'll have to add that one. I don't think I have that one. I'll have to add that one.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's hard to find, but if you can find an old one, it's like I'm trying to. Of course, I know Matt personally, and I'm like, dude, you got to re-release that. Like, it's been a while.
Yeah,
and he's done much more. He's done more grappling and other things, and so he went over to China and he won the Shuaijiao. He got third place in Shuaijiao,
wow.
World Shuaijiao. Yeah, dude, a white guy.
That's cool.
That's not easy to do.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, really, really great guy, dude. Really, really great guy. And now we train the SEAL out under William Sanders. And that, again, it came about because Matt told me, hey, when you hit a rut, learn something brand new.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I've always wanted to study with this man. So I reached out and started studying. And here I am. Now I'm a certified instructor, level 1 instructor.
That's cool. All right, this one. So you grew up in the 60s and 70s. I'm hoping you'll have an answer for this one. Do you have a favorite martial arts video game? Did you ever get into video games at all?
Not really.
No?
Not really. No, I never did. And, Pong came out when I was like in middle school.
Yeah.
And, I've never had a gaming system. And a lot of people come up from my house, where's your gaming system? And I look at them like, what are you talking about? And they go, oh my God, you have swords and knives everywhere. I'm like, yeah.
That's cool.
I don't have video games. I have the real deal.
Yeah. That's 50. It's usually 50-50. So a lot of people don't have an answer for that one. So,
right.
All right. This one, you might have already mentioned it. We'll see. Do you have a favorite martial arts TV show?
Oh, dude, of course, growing up with Kung Fu, Kung Fu: The Legend Continues.
Nice. I'm glad you actually, not many people mentioned the sequel series. I actually liked it.
Dude,
Well, I found out one of my guests from like my first year, Sean Kanan. He was Mike Barnes in Karate Kid 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. He actually read for the part that Chris Potter got. He was actually one of the ones considered for that part.
That's what I heard. I tried to get an audition, but didn't work out, unfortunately.
Nice.
And then years later, one of the guys we had like a sparring match in front of this producer, and he looked at me. I was hairy. I had tattoos, and they're like, yeah, you kind of have, you have to. They wanted somebody who was like not marked up, because then they could put him in any scene, put a wig on him, make him a woman. Right. But when you're marked up, you can only do so much, because
that makes sense.
Yeah, well, now you can this is before we had all the special effects. So,
yeah.
And I had a fight with this guy, and it turned into a real fight.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Wow. Anyway, so years later, I'm looking for a hosting service for my website, and a friend of mine goes, "Yeah, these guys up in Canada do a really good job." Yada yada. So I called him, and I'm talking to this guy, and I'm like, "Dude, where the hell? I've heard your voice." And we're talking on the phone. Finally, we went to FaceTime. We realized, oh my God, you're him. You're that guy from the audition. And he's laughing his ass off, and I'm laughing my ass off.
That's awesome.
Jesus Christ! Of all the people we meet again, and he's running this computer company now, and I'm an acupuncturist. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It's funny, bro. This is how the world. I went to school with a guy named Derek Steele. He was my undergrad roommate, and he's very well known in the Japanese field. He worked for Stanley Prennan at Aiki News, and he's trained in Daito Ryu and Jodo and a lot of the traditional Japanese systems. Really, really great guy. Mm-hmm. And so, I have friends like that, and other people where I just the connections I have. People call me and say, "Hey, do you know somebody who does this?" I'm like, "Yeah, actually, I do." Here, give them an introduction. And say, tell them I sent you. People ask me, why don't you want to keep people as students? I'm like, I have no desire to keep you as a student if you want to train with somebody else. Like you said before, the weird ninja school, spectators. I didn't like spectators either. So when people, I did have a public school for a while in Boston, in Chinatown. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was one of the few white people. Yeah, it's nice when people, Anyway, so teaching there was interesting because, I had large group classes and things like that. And you learn things.
Yeah.
You learn things, it's group classes. And now it's just different with, it's better with one-on-one. People we learn online. I can show you things online, and then for application, you're going to have to come see me.
Right.
That's just the gist of it. I can't teach you how to fight with it online.
Right.
But I can show you everything up to that point.
That's cool.
The technology. So
yeah, technology's good. All right. How about a favorite martial arts movie?
Oh God. Only one? Come on, man. That's just asking. There's been so many.
You can name a couple, I guess. That's cool.
Okay, so some of the bad ones I like are the Kill or Be Killed series out of South Africa. Stanley Schmidt, he was a Shotokan teacher down there. Uh-huh. And just the no plot, all crazy, low budget action. Oh my God, they're the best horrible kung fu movies.
Nice.
Some of the better ones? Oh, dear Lord. Oh, dude, I can't even think. There's been so many. Of course, I'm a big Zatoichi fan, the blind swordsman. So I love watching this blind masseuse cut down bad guys. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was movies and a TV series. I've been watching a lot of Lone Wolf and Cub on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and look up Samurai versus Ninja, or Ninja versus Samurai, there's two different channels. They show like these old Japanese, what they call Jiraigeki, which means like a period piece.
Really?
And so it's all samurai stuff, samurai ninja, shoguns, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. It's in Japanese. They have subtitles sometimes, but I watch them to practice my Japanese because, I like to keep that up. But those are my favorite, movie. It's, Lone Wolf and Cub, Shogun Assassin, it was called in America. That was probably one of my favorite ones when I was younger.
Nice.
probably the most bloodiest movie I'd ever seen too. I mean, dude, they must have had 55-gallon drums of that stuff coming out. Holy Lord.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah.
Final question. This one doesn't have to be a martial arts movie. Just overall, a favorite movie fight scene.
Favorite movie fight scene.
Is there one that just stands out?
Probably not really a fight scene, but in The Crow with Brandon Lee, and he's fighting the dude with dreads and the knives. I think they call him Tintin, and Tintin's throwing everything at him. He's hitting it away, grabbing it. I'm like, oh, dude, that was creepy as F.
Nice.
When a man's walking at you, and no matter what you're throwing, he's just either grabbing it or palming it away. You're like, oh, that's not good. That's not good at all.
Yeah. Man, I don't think anyone's ever mentioned the guy. Some people have picked The Crow for their favorite movie. I don't think anyone.
Right. It's a good movie. Frightening is all. Frightening, very dark. But dude, that scene where he's just laughing maniacally and just walking towards the guy as the guy's throwing everything that he's got.
Yeah.
And he still gets ganked.
Yeah. I love Brandon. I was such a huge fan of Brandon Lee. I was so sad. I think I was a sophomore in college when he passed away.
He's like, dude, I ran into him because, he was going to school in Boston.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, dude, I ran into a lot of people in Boston because they went to Emerson. Emerson is an acting school, and he was there.
Yep.
And I'm like, hey, Mr. Lee, didn't say anything. Can I shake your hand? Yeah. It was in passing, dude. We're at a party. It's crowded.
That's still pretty cool, though. I mean,
and then he's dead. After man, that sucked.
Yeah,
I never met his dad, but my teachers met him because he came to all the Weichi schools because he knew he saw Weichi. He's like, wait a minute, why does it look like white eyebrow? It looks like white eyebrow South Manis. Everybody looks our forms and says that's not karate. I go, it is. It's just not karate size karate.
Right.
It's more something that's from southern Fujian. It's from southern China. Not very long stances, very few forms, and lots of drills and conditioning because you got to get tough because you're going to have to hit, kick, punch. People are going to do the same thing to you.
Definitely.
Best piece of advice my teacher ever gave me. One day I was doing something, I got frustrated. He said, hey, look, don't beat yourself up. And he goes, but at the same time, don't underestimate other people because there's always somebody bigger, meaner, stronger, faster, and more evil than you. So, you need to understand these things to rectify the training.
Right.
I'm like, wow. Dude, 12 years old, that's deep.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Took me years to, figure that out. People go, really? I go, yeah, because when you're a kid, you don't understand. And then you remember something, triggers it. You remember, you're like, oh my God, that's insane.
Yeah. Before I let you go, is there anything maybe I forgot to ask you about that we want to be sure to get out there quick?
No, bro. I think you talked about a little bit of, where I come from, what I've done, what I'm doing now. And now I'm teaching Silat. I'm teaching the Silat from William Sanders.
That's cool.
The name of it is Pukulon Shimani Pusaka Fallinger Sanders. And it's a whole body martial art. I am now, I'm not into the stiff spine, anything anymore. Now, free form, free movement.
Okay.
Open that spine, open everything up. And it's helped me. I've had cancer. I'm still dealing with cancer. I'm dealing, with some serious health things.
Wow.
And this stuff, yeah, dude, I was having very bad issues, very bad circulation issues. So the movement training, what they call the Juru training, the forms training brought me back to life. So that's why I love Silat so much. Why? Because it's helped me it's brought me back from having issues. I wasn't moving. I wasn't healthy enough to move. And now I'm moving. And now I'm doing great things. Yay. Yay.
Cool. Well, I will definitely put a link for your website out there and send people your way.
Oh, please. What can I do? I'm here to help, guys. I do online herbal consultations. So if you're interested in herbal medicine, I can do that over the line. I can't do acupuncture online. That doesn't work. I'm not going to send you a box of needles and then show you where to put them. That's not how we do it.
Darn.
No. No. That's not how a licensed acupuncturist is going to do it.
Yeah.
But I can send you a box of herbs or things and then tell you how many to take and then line them. I can take care of you from a distance with herbal medicine. That is doable. So, and again, share my website. If you want to, you can give them my phone number.
Okay.
For anybody who wants it, it's 727-297-0194 and daledugas.com.
Cool.
I've got a contact page. I'm here to help. So what can I do to help you get better, recover faster, and to get stronger? I'm here.
Nice. I like it. Well, hey, this has been a blast, man. I knew very little about you when I reached out, and I'm glad we got to do this. I mean,
yeah,
definitely hope to meet you in person someday. I think we could have fun hanging out and just talking martial art.
Same, bro. Same. I have friends who I've known them online ever since the online thing started, and I've never met them, but I have these relationships with these people, and then I meet them, and it's like we've never, and of course it's seamless because you know the person.
Yeah.
And other people like, have you ever met him? No, it's the first time. Like, dude, you guys know each other forever. Well, yeah, kind of.
Yeah. And that's I have over 100 and almost 160 guests I've interviewed now on the show.
That's wonderful, bro.
In 3 years. And I've probably met, I'd have to go through the whole list, but I probably met less than 30 of them.
Well, I'm here in Florida, so when you get sick of the cold up there in Minnesota, my friend, you can come down and visit me in warm, sunny Florida. I have a hot tub and a pool,
nice.
A heated pool and a heated hot tub.
Yeah, I might have to convince my wife about that and come down for a visit. That'd be kind of fun.
I mean, it's community, so I mean, I tell people, hey, look, people don't go in when it's cold out, except me, because I'm a crazy person.
I'm the same.
People go, aren't you cold? I'm like, nah, I'm from New England. It's 50 out. I'm in the hot tub.
Yeah. Well, Dale, seriously, thank you very much. This has been so much fun.
Well, thank you, Brad.
I can't wait till the episode comes out. I think people are really going to enjoy this.
Excellent.
Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.